Hey, this is Rick again, your bike fitness coach. We got a special little interview today set up with two attorneys, personal injury attorneys. I work with one of them down in San Diego on bicycle cases. There's a lot of bicycles being hit in San Diego. Specifically, that's where he targets his audience. Anyway, on a given weekend through some of the areas of Oceanside, Carlsbad, and Sanitas, you can get 1,000 cyclists, maybe 2,000 an hour going through there. So there's a higher percentage, higher chance of getting hit by a car through those areas. Normally, cyclists are going a little bit slower, so the injuries are usually not life-threatening. People get banged up quite a bit, the bikes get destroyed, broken bones, etc., but the people normally survive. What we're experiencing now and seeing now is a lot of the e-bike injuries and deaths. E-bikes are going faster, kids are taking more chances. So how do we prevent the injuries and deaths? Recently, there's been, I think the attorney will discuss 3 of them, recent incidences. So this talk is going to be about instruction, safety, and also insurance. So stay tuned for a nice talk with and a lot of good information coming out. We're going to be also having a secondary talk in Spanish for a Spanish-speaking clientele. Stay tuned, and here we go.
Hi, this is Richard Duquette, and I've been invited here by Rick Schultz from Bike Fitness and Coaching to present a video. We just finished our English version just a few minutes ago, and we now are going to be providing as a courtesy to the Spanish-speaking community the same e-bike presentation with Irving Pedroza, who's a licensed attorney. I've worked with Irving previously on other bike cases. Irving is fluent in Spanish. He's, again, licensed. The subject of our video today is e-bike rules of the road and insurance coverage. And what we're going to do is we're going to talk about some of the hot issues regarding e-bikes and insurance coverage so that we're inclusive and everybody is educated and in terms of what their rights are and how to protect themselves as a rider, the passengers, the parents, and also any bike shops. So without any further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Irving Pedroza. Irving, how you doing?
Good, Richard. How are you?
Good.
It's good to see you.
Yes, sir.
And thanks for Rick for having us.
Oh, well, you're very welcome. It's a pleasure. And Rick Schultz, it's great to see you too. So tell us a little bit about yourself first.
So yeah, I mean, I was actually born in Mexico and came to the United States as a young kid.
Okay.
Grew up in San Diego,
Great.
and been practicing in San Diego and all throughout California for a while now.
You've been practicing. So if you would you? I'm going to ask that you translate my question and your answer in español, please.
Absolutely. Me preguntaste que explicara un poco de mí. Y mi respuesta es, yo soy Irving Pedroza, soy un abogado de California, nací en México, me trajeron de pequeño a San Diego y por la mayoría estaba en el condado de San Diego, pero sí practico en todo California.
Okay, and make sure you speak loud enough because we want to make sure this electronic equipment picks us up. So what are your thoughts about e-bikes? Do you support the use of e-bikes for transportation and recreation, perhaps the shops that sell them? What are your views on e-bikes, Mr. Pedroza?
So ahorita me preguntó qué es lo que yo pensaba de bicicletas electrónicas y si lo soporto y pienso que es de buen uso. La respuesta es sí. Creo que como dijiste hace rato es el futuro y se usan más y más a menudo y especialmente como estabas diciendo para la generación mayor es algo que les ayuda mucho y se les hace es como una manera de no solo ir a lugares, pero también hacer mucho ejercicio.
Okay. So I've just a small brag. I bicycled to Cabo San Lucas once from, believe it or not, from Tijuana to Cabo San Lucas through the Montaños, and then another time from Tecate to Cabo San Lucas. And having been, as a bicyclist, ridden down to the tip of Baja, having been through many towns in Baja at least, there's a lot of bicyclists, a lot of people ride bicycles in the Hispanic community. Are you seeing that some of the people in the Hispanic community are also getting involved in using e-bikes as well? What are your thoughts on that?
Me acaba de preguntar si yo veo a muchos de la comunidad hispana también usar bicicletas electrónicas y mi respuesta es sí, lo veo más a menudo. Creo que es por general toda la población lo está usando, las está usando y como digo, va a ser algo del futuro que todos más y más van a usar bicicletas así.
Okay. You know, I believe that bicycles transcend all cultures. And, you know, I think whether it be in Mexico or the United States. So I'd like to, you know, talk to you about this. Would you tell your viewers, you know, describe to them that bicycles have all the rights as motorists, but they also have all the duties too. They have to follow the rules as well. And there's a vehicle code section on that. Would you be kind enough to share their rights with them so they know that they have all the rights as a car, but they also have to follow all the rules too?
Sí, él acaba de decir que en primer lugar todos los que usan bicicletas tienen todos los derechos que cualquier automóvil, pero también tienen las mismas obligaciones de seguir las leyes y las cosas en la calle que un automóvil. Así que tienen no solo los derechos, pero también las obligaciones de eso.
All right. And so regarding learning the rights as a bicyclist and the responsibilities, can you explain perhaps some of the ways that the Hispanic community might actually learn the rules of the road, whether it be school, online, bike shops, bike coalitions, nonprofits? What would be a good way for them to learn about their rights and responsibilities as a bicyclist, including an e-bicyclist?
La pregunta es cómo creo que la comunidad hispana puede saber de las reglas y las obligaciones y los derechos también que tienen como ciclistas. Yo pienso que en las escuelas, cuando van a comprar las bicicletas y también en línea hay muchas maneras que pueden ver, que pueden aprender los derechos y las obligaciones, porque es importante cuando están en la calle y manejan junto a vehículos que sepan esos derechos y esas obligaciones. Pero sí pienso que en las escuelas y también cuando compran las bicicletas pueden aprender mucho.
Okay, and so I've done some research, and there's a new law that actually is saying that in California, this is just so we're clear, this is primarily a program regarding or discussing California law, and you know, each state is different. But in California, the governor signed a bill, Assembly Bill 2028, that has been in effect almost a year, that says school safety and instruction time and facilities can be used. Like if you're going to ride an e-bike to school, maybe they can teach the kids before they issue them a permit about safety and using the facilities. Would you be kind enough to share that concept so that the Spanish-speaking community is aware that the schools, you know, are using their facilities in time?
Sí, y todo lo que estamos hablando es, como Richard acaba de decir, es sobre las leyes de California. Cada estado tiene leyes y derechos diferentes, pero en California ya hace como un año el gobernador firmó una ley que básicamente le da a las escuelas el derecho y poder de usar el tiempo de la escuela y usar la escuela en sí para enseñar a los estudiantes sobre sus derechos y obligaciones de usar unas bicicletas, especialmente electrónicas.
All right. And it would probably be wise if other states like Arizona, Utah, Nevada, and maybe Texas does the same thing and begins to educate the community, including the Hispanic community, using school facilities and resources for purposes of safety to help facilitate transportation. Would you perhaps speak to those other states while you have this chance?
Cuando Richard estaba diciendo que tal vez sería muy bueno que otros estados como Arizona, Nevada, Texas, también usaran esa misma implementación de enseñar a la comunidad de sus derechos y de las obligaciones, porque más que nada es de seguridad, para la salud, para los niños, y es muy importante saber qué derechos y obligaciones tienen en estar en la calle.
All right. So, all you other states, you better step in line with California and start teaching kids at school so that nobody gets hurt and the kids ride safely. So let's talk about this. So in California, an e-bicyclist is not a motor vehicle. And so this becomes important if you have auto insurance. Perhaps your auto insurance will pick up or be triggered if the bad guy has very little insurance, and you might be considered a pedestrian. You also have the chance of buying e-bike insurance. So nowadays, you can actually buy e-bike insurance along with motorcycle insurance. If you got an e-bike, in case you hit somebody or somebody hits you and they're underinsured, would you talk to them about, I'll try my Spanglish here, aseguranza coverage,
Sí.
so that they understand aseguranza, por favor.
Sí, bueno, en California los ciclistas y especialmente de bicicletas eléctricas no son considerados como un automóvil. Por definición no pueden calificar como eso. Así que bajo la ley de California, cuando alguien se lastima, la ley los trata como si fueran caminando. Y por eso es muy importante saber los derechos y saber de las aseguranzas, saber de qué cobertura tienen. Por ejemplo, cuando alguien se lastima, digamos la negligencia de un automóvil y está usando la bicicleta, pueden usar la cobertura que tienen en el automóvil. Pero lo que pasa es que muchas personas, especialmente en California, tienen menos aseguranza de los daños que se crean. Y es por eso que es importante saber qué tipo de aseguranza tienen, cuánto aseguranza tienen, y también, como Richard estaba diciendo, ya venden aseguranza que cubre específicamente a bicicletas eléctricas. Así que aparte de la aseguranza de automóvil, también pueden tener aseguranza de las bicicletas.
All right. And I'd like to, while we're on the record here, there's a case, and it's in your handout too. It's called Daun, D-A-U-N versus USAA, 2005, 125 Calap 4th, 599. So this helps you if you're riding a bicycle and you're hit, your own auto insurance may be triggered and provide coverage for a person in your household if the bad guy has very little or is uninsured. So would you give them that site while we're on the record so they're aware of that concept that their own auto insurance might actually come into play here? So they want to buy as much auto insurance coverage as possible with a backup umbrella policy so that if tragedy ever does hit, because an e-bike is not a motor vehicle, they might be covered as a pedestrian. Would you explain that to the Spanish-speaking community?
Sí, hay un caso en California que básicamente da la ley de que si alguien, incluso alguien de su casa, les pegan cuando están usando una bicicleta, puede usar su cobertura de automóvil. Y por ejemplo, es por eso que es importante, entre más tengan de aseguranza, mejor. Incluso siempre recomendamos agarrar algo que se llama como aseguranza paraguas, o sea, que cubre todo. Eso es aparte de la aseguranza que está ya sea en el automóvil o en la bicicleta. Y como Richard estaba diciendo, es importante porque los casos que vemos muchas veces son muy dramáticos en el sentido de que las personas se lesionan mucho porque obviamente están en la bicicleta, no tienen la misma cobertura que cuando en un carro.
Okay. It's if there's a good interpretation for the word counterintuitive, it's sometimes counterintuitive. It doesn't seem to normally register to most people that if you're hit on your bicycle, sometimes your auto insurance will cover that. And that's why it's important to have good auto insurance coverage with underinsured motorists. Don't drop it down and save a few nickels or pesos. Just make sure that you get as much auto insurance as you can with underinsured motorists and the full strength of that with an umbrella policy, so that if the bad guy hits you, there's a resource or a pocket to recover from. Would you tell the audience that?
Yeah. Como él está diciendo, es muy importante y es casi contra lo que pensamos usualmente. Nunca pensamos, incluso tengo clientes y ciertos amigos abogados que no saben que la cobertura de tu carro puede cubrirte como ciclista. Y es por eso que entre más tengas, más aseguranza tengas en tu propia cobertura de carro, mejor para ti, mejor para tu familia. Y como Richard estaba diciendo, es muy importante saber qué coberturas tienen. Incluso yo sé que la comunidad latina usualmente intenta agarrar lo que requiere la ley, y les puedo decir que lo que requiere la ley no los cubre a ustedes. Eso solo si ustedes dañan a alguien más, pero no hablan de usted mismo. Así que es muy importante lo que Richard se está refiriendo. Es algo que en la cobertura usted va a leer underinsured or uninsured motorists. Y usualmente los pueden ver en varios, en la cobertura que le enseña la aseguranza.
Okay, thank you, Irving. Let's talk about some of the rules regarding e-bikes. So there's some, like I said from the beginning, bicyclists have all the rights as a motorist, but they also have to follow the rules. So if you would, let's just cover this one. Depending on the e-bike, you may be limited as to where you can ride, sometimes regarding trails, etc., depending on the e-bike. So would you let them know, just to be aware of, there's some rules about where you can ride an e-bike?
Sí, lo que él está hablando es hay ciertas clases y tipos de bicicletas eléctricas y hay reglas y obligaciones de dónde pueden usar ese tipo de bicicletas dependiendo la clase. Por ejemplo, hay ciertas líneas y demarcaciones en la calle que ustedes deben aprender si están usando esas bicicletas.
All right. And the other thing that I want to bring up is helmets. It's very important that the rider, whether they're a child or an adult or even a passenger, they have a properly fitted helmet. They should always have a helmet on. Can you explain that to them as well?
Yeah. Es muy importante, la ley incluso requiere que usen para the word's escaping me. Un casco para su cabeza, incluso un casco que les quede, porque les digo, hemos visto muchísimos casos donde lo que más pega es la cabeza cuando alguien se lastima, y obviamente si no tienen casco va a afectarles mucho la salud.
Okay. And so let's point the finger now at the motorists, the actual car drivers and truck drivers. Let's remind them that there's a 3-foot rule. If you pass a bicyclist, you got to give them 3 feet. Better yet, you should change lanes and give them more than 3 feet if you're passing a bicyclist, including if you're a truck driver, you're a bus driver, you're a motorist. So don't give them just 3 feet. Move into the adjacent lane if you're able to when you pass a bicyclist or an e-bicyclist. Would you remind them?
Sí, y como nosotros que vamos manejando en un carro y vemos a un ciclista, por ejemplo, la ley requiere que les demos por lo menos 3 pies de espacio. Incluso lo que nosotros usualmente recomendamos es que si pueden pasarse a la otra línea, al otro carril, mucho mejor. Entre más espacio, mejor para todos, mejor para el ciclista, mejor para el carro, y así nadie se lastima.
All right. And one other rule I'd like to talk about, and this is beginning in January of 2024, bicyclists will be able to ride across an intersection in a crosswalk on a walk signal, but they still must yield the right of way to other pedestrians and vehicles. In other words, you can ride actually across the intersection in a crosswalk, but you just have to be mindful of other people. There was always, in the past, there was some vagueness there as to if you can ride in a crosswalk. Well, as of January in California, you will be able to with some limitations. So it's okay to do it, you just have to use caution. Would you remind the public of that?
Sí, y empezando en enero del próximo año, California ha permitido que, por ejemplo, los ciclistas pueden usar las líneas de peatones si están cruzando, pero es como cualquier otro carro. Si ven a alguien que va caminando, tienen que dejar a la persona que cruce. Y con que puedan usar esas líneas de demarcaciones correctamente y sin lastimar a alguien, lo pueden hacer. Y California ya no lo... antes había como una confusión de que si un ciclista lo podía usar o no, pero California ahora sí lo va a permitir y en absoluto.
Okay, good. This is called the California Bike Coalition, and this lists a variety of the rules, and we'll just post that. So let them know this poster is from the California Bicycle Coalition.
Sí, esto es da las diferentes reglas de la coalición de bicicletas de California.
And you can find this information online.
Y usted puede encontrar esta información en línea.
And this explains the different rules for different types of e-bikes. For example, a type 1, 2, or 3.
Y como ven, explica las diferentes reglas para el tipo de bicicleta eléctrica, como sea el tipo 1, tipo 2 o tipo 3.
Right. And the most common is a type 1, and this is a pedal assist up to 20 miles an hour. In other words, it'll stop working after 20 miles an hour. That's the most common, and it pretty much can go anywhere, at any time.
La más común es el tipo 1 que asiste hasta las 20 millas por hora y después de las 20 millas ya se para, pero es la más común que hay en California.
The good thing about a type 1 is they're very economical. There's no driver's license required. That's important. No license plate. No insurance, believe it or not, although I recommend insurance.
Lo bueno lo bueno del tipo 1 es que son muy económicas. Por ejemplo, no requiere que alguien tenga licencia, incluso no requiere que necesiten aseguranza, pero como les digo, sí recomendamos que que siempre compren aseguranza o tengan un tipo de aseguranza.
And no license plate needed either. You don't have to go to the DMV.
Y tampoco necesitan ir al DMV a agarrar un número de licencia de placas.
Okay, so you can avoid a lot of regulation economically and allow your kids, your family, or even yourself to travel with an e-bike. There's very little regulation on these conveyances or bicycles, e-bikes.
Sí, como no hay muchas regulaciones y muchas restricciones al manejar este tipo de bicicletas, es muy económico para ustedes, para sus hijos, para toda su familia.
So, but there's also, if you go online, there's different locations where e-bikes are allowed, and there are some places where e-bikes are not allowed depending on the power of the e-bike, how many watts it has.
Sí, y depende del tipo de bicicleta eléctrica, hay ciertas restricciones de dónde las pueden manejar, y todo esto está en línea, lo pueden encontrar.
Okay, very good. So again, this is the California Bicycle Coalition, and I'm laser pointing it. It's called People for Bikes, and you can go online and get these details. Okay, if you would, I'll take that poster,
Sí.
and I'm going to change that out. This is a poster by the San Diego Bicycle Coalition, and this talks about some of the rules regarding e-bikes. So this is the San Diego Bicycle Coalition.
Sí, esta es la colección de San Diego de bicicletas.
And it talks about what a shero is. A shero is a white marking on the road that allows you to share the lane.
Y habla de esa marca que está ahí, que parece como montañas, que permite, bueno, al ver esta quiere decir que no hay mucho espacio para un carro y una bicicleta.
It talks about if you have a passenger, you better have foot pegs and a strap and a safe seat if you're going to carry a passenger, and no riding on the handlebars.
Y también habla de si lleva un pasajero en la bicicleta, qué es lo que se permite, qué no es lo que se permite. Por ejemplo, no puede ir su pasajero en frente de usted donde van manejando.
So there's many other rules that allow you to safely ride an e-bike. And if you just go into the San Diego Bike Coalition or the California Bike Coalition, you can find this information. And if you would, share it with your schools, your teachers. I think teachers are very important because they teach, and they're probably pretty good at it, and they can do it now using the resources of the school.
Y esto todo lo pueden encontrar en línea, como les dije, en la coalición de San Diego. Y sí, lo pueden compartir con su familia, con incluso maestros, porque como les dijimos, ya California permite que los maestros enseñen estos tipos de reglas y cosas que se pueden hacer en la calle.
Okay, and if you would, let's change that out. And I have another poster for you. But my personal pet peeve or prejudice is it's important that they get e-bike insurance, so that if they're riding a bike and they get hit and the bad guy has very little insurance, that their insurance protects them and their families. So insurance is a big deal, because if they're out of a job, it costs them wages. If they're disabled, it costs them money. And so with my sense of humor, just tell them about the dinero here. You know?
Como dice Richard, al último todo es de dinero. Por ejemplo, si alguien se lastima y no puede trabajar, tiene gastos médicos, al último todo se va a tratar del dinero. Es por eso que es muy importante no solo tener aseguranza lo más alto que puedan, Pero también si pueden y tienen bicicletas y especialmente bicicletas eléctricas, compren aseguranza de bicicleta eléctrica porque va a ser aún más aseguranza que usted o su familia puede usar.
And you can leave it up there. One of the things I wanted to point out is a company called Safeco, S-A-F-E-C-O. It's an insurance company. And for 1 year, it's only $400 for e-bike insurance for very good coverage for underinsured, uninsured motorists, as well as for medical. So $412 a year for an e-bike. So they can get that and they can protect their family and their future. So Safeco, would you remind them they can find that and they can get insurance?
Sí, por ejemplo, una compañía que le gusta a Richard de aseguranza, que vende aseguranza específicamente de bicicletas eléctricas es Safeco. Y por ejemplo, por 412 o algo así, y todo va a depender de su familia, pero por 400 y algo puede agarrar aseguranza que cubre a usted y su familia. Creo que es cobertura de 250,000 y más alto, y es algo que pueden comprar específicamente si tienen bicicletas eléctricas.
All right. I think that does it for now. Thanks, Irving.
Yeah, thanks.
And this is intended as a public service. There's no representation of any case. This is focusing primarily on California law. If you need a lawyer, you should contact a lawyer. Each case is different. We hope this has been helpful. I want to thank Irving Pedroza. Irving Pedroza is with DeGrigio and Pedroza. What is your email address there, Irving, so that...
I'm going to say what you said in Spanish right
Sure.
now. So, esto es un servicio público, no representamos a nadie. Esto nada más es para información. Si usted tiene un caso, todos los casos van a ser diferentes. Nos pueden contactar si es necesario. Como Richard dijo antes, trabajamos muchos en casos juntos. Si necesitan contactarme, mi correo electrónico es Irving, así como se oye, IRDING, @dpinjuryattorney.com. DPINJURYATTORNEY.com.
Good. Well, let's not forget Richard as well. 911 Law is mine.
Yours is easier.
Okay. Go ahead, 911law.com.
Y también si quieren contactar a Richard,
forget
no,
Richard.
no se lo olviden, 911 LAW.com.
The guy with the gray hair, you know. All right. Thank you very much, Irving. It's been a
Thank you.
pleasure. And
Always.
thank you, Rick Schultz, for
Thanks, Rick.
assisting us. Thank you very much.